Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition. This is the Bader Show. I'm your host, Mark Bader, and it is episode 429. Today's December 3rd, 2024. We got a great guest for you coming in today from the heavyweight division and from Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's Wyatt Hendrickson. He's ranked number 3 currently at heavyweight in the NCAA. Wyatt, how you doing today, man? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for having me on. It's a good day to be a cowboy here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Woke up this morning, went out and tried to get me my buck. Buck season's coming to a close, but just living life, training hard, having fun.
Tried to get you the buck. Does that mean you didn't get it?
I didn't get it. No, I saw a couple. I could have taken one down, but it looked like Bambi, so it wouldn't have been a very good thing to do. So I'm gonna wait till a bigger one. Wait till his dad comes out later in the season.
How long's the season got? How long is the season left, and do you expect to get one before the end of the season?
So bow season started, and it goes for a while. But right now it's rifle season. But there's only a couple weeks because if we use rifle, we kill all the deer around here, and in a matter of time, especially since pretty much everyone on the team's hunting. Everyone in Stillwater here was out having a good time. But probably after Vegas, I'm gonna come back and go hunting again. It's a good balance between training, wrestling hard, and then having some fun and going doing fun stuff.
Were you hunting prior to moving? I know you're from Kansas. Maybe did you hunt already, or is it a thing since you moved to Stillwater that you started hunting?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in the country a little bit. We have a blind at my house, but I just took it for granted. So I'm kind of bouncing off the walls. Sticking me in a blind for 4 hours isn't very much fun. I like doing stuff. Same thing with when I've been wrestling. I'm always just go, go, go. I'm always doing something. I can't sit still, but just like my wrestling style I'm trying to develop right now, I'm just kind of relaxing. I'm being calm, letting stuff happen, and I can hunt now because I can sit in a stand for a couple hours, and I'm learning patience. It's sometimes I want to score every single point, every single second of the match, but I'm learning that maybe it's sometimes good to just take it easy and let the other guy make mistakes and don't waste all my energy trying to blast double him every 20 seconds.
Okay. Oh, a new Wyatt Hendrickson, because the guy I know just doesn't know how to take his foot off the gas. I want to talk some wrestling. I want to go back actually to the U23 World Championships. Right, you won a world title, but I'm sitting here watching it up on the screen at our office with the guys, and I think you got up 5-0 or 6-0. It looks like you're going to steamroll this guy, and then you got hurt. Leg or it was your knee. I think you got into a crazy scramble. Yep. I just want to I don't think I've ever got to talk to you about that, because I was I don't know, he might. I didn't know how bad it was. Does he consider forfeiting out? The college season was not that far away. Maybe walk me through getting hurt, how bad it felt, whether or not there was a decision to be made to wrestle or not. Up the whole, it was no, I'm wrestling. Screw that, and just kind of the thoughts that went through your head. If you're ever if it gets worse, I'll have to stop, but it is the World Finals. It's such a big deal. So yeah, just kind of curious how that situation was experienced was for you.
Yeah, so it was something new for me. I've actually been very fortunate and blessed to never have any serious injuries at all in wrestling. And in that match, I ended up tearing my MCL. But wrestling opponents from other countries, they wrestle a little bit different. And I'm used to reacting as if someone shoots on my leg, they're going to try to finish their shot and score. Well, I think he was from Turkey. He grabbed my leg and just did not let go. He was like riding a bull. He was just holding on to my leg for dear life. And I want to get him off my leg. I'm trying to score points. And, his head was dug into the outside of my knee or the inside of my knee. And so whenever I tried to flip, I've just never had injuries, so I'm not really scared in those positions. I was trying to yo-yo the crap out of him. I was trying to wing around him, and it just went pow! Even he kind of let go of my leg because, it went boom. And I was like, okay, let's stand up, see what happened. And I stood up, and my knee was just, it just kind of collapsed on itself. And I looked at Coach, and I'm like, something, this isn't good. Something's not great. But I think in the match, Coach was just just wrestle smart and stay in it. There was so much adrenaline going. I felt it, but I was like, I could still wrestle. I could still move. So I obviously kind of figured I was going to finish that match. And, towards the end, I have a very powerful upper body, but you don't realize how much you need your lower body until you're trying to turn someone without your legs. So, I mean, I turned him and I didn't use my legs at all, and he grabbed my leg. And I mean, I ended up winning the match. If I would have been patient and just gotten a stalemate there or not tried to hurt myself scoring on him, I could have avoided that injury. A couple of things I learned from that. But, I mean, as soon as like that whistle blew and I teched him, all the adrenaline flooded in my knee was just like, I was freaking out because I was worried about my season.
Yeah.
But it ended up being okay. I mean, I walked off. We ended up, we got all this stuff done. It wasn't a complete tear, just like a grade 2. But the next thing was the All-Star Classic. And that was like the only match that was going to challenge me until NCAAs. So, or even Big 12s later on in the season. So I really wanted to wrestle that match. And I convinced my next weeks of training, I obviously took some time off, but my mental process, I just convinced myself that I was okay. I knew I was ready to go, but I never wrestled live because I obviously tried to get back on the mat and I kept retweaking it. And I was just like, it's fine. It's just a little knee injury. But I think my wrestling style combined with that knee injury was just not great. Just because, I mean, as you've seen, I'm like go, go, go the whole time. And it's good, but if I need to be more conservative, maybe protect myself from some positions, that was just something new for me. So obviously I went and wrestled in the All-Star Classic. Obviously it sucked because I got teched. I don't even remember the last time I've been teched or pinned or anything. But I mean, that's kind of, I'm trying to change my style just a little bit. So if anything happens during the season or I re-injure something, like maybe being go, go, go. Yeah, it's a great wrestling style. I'll never lose that wrestling style. But it's never bad to impose a little bit of strategy on your opponent.
Some tactics, sure. So let's get to like you finished last season, right? That you did 4 years at Air Force. So I believe, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, you couldn't wrestle for Air Force anymore, right? You had to either graduate because you graduated. Is that right?
I did. Yep. I graduated last spring. Yeah. There's no graduate school program. The Air Force Academy is 4 years and go. There's no other option, no other choice.
Yeah. And I believe they had to do like a special exemption, or they don't normally let people transfer. Explain the situation that you were in and how you were able to go to Oklahoma State or anywhere for that matter.
Mm-hmm. So I think about 20% of my graduating class went to grad school after graduating from the academy. And so it's a really common thing. But what is uncommon is people still continue to do athletics after graduating while getting their master's degree. So to apply for one of those programs, you have to start that your junior year. Obviously, this was second semester, senior year. I hadn't applied for one of those programs. So really just some people that really supported my wrestling career in the military. And they said, hey, do you want to try to wrestle another year? And I was like, absolutely. I was already planning on going WCAP, which is actually the program that ended up working out for me. That's what I'm in right now, is actually WCAP. And this is the first time that, they're letting, because this is really rare that someone still has eligibility left at this, high level. Sometimes people have injuries and they still have eligibility, but this was just a special occasion where they said, hey, you can go ahead and use that last year of eligibility. And I'm still training. I'm still, the big goal still LA 2028, but this is just part of the stepping stone to, gain more skills wrestling the best wrestlers in the country to ultimately make me a better, well-rounded wrestler. So it was a headache sometimes because it was an emotional roller coaster. One day they said, hey, it's really looking good. I think it's going to happen. And then the next day they'd say, hey, it didn't work, but we're going to try to find another way. So I actually didn't get this fully approved until early August. That's how close to the deadline it was. I was about to go to Florida to my base I was assigned to, because for the grad school program in WCAP, you get a different assignment. I'm still active duty in the Air Force right now. A lot of people think, oh, he's leaving the service, he's not helping or doing anything. It's just a common misconception. People just don't know that. 20% of my graduating class, they go to grad school, as I said. So, but no one ever competes. So it was something a little different. But I'm still active duty, and they had to change my assignment. They changed it last minute. Finally got approved all the paperwork because, this was a big thing that hadn't been. Like I said, people usually try to do this 2 years in advance their junior year. So doing it last minute was a little bit of a headache, but I mean, I'm just super glad that everything finally went smoothly and I finally landed here in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Did you say you didn't get approved? It didn't get approved till August?
Yeah,
Because
that's that's
you like
correct.
just announced you're going to Oklahoma in like May or around in the spring, right?
Yeah, so they gave me so pretty much the what happened with that is they knew they could make it happen. They just didn't know what it looked like.
Like,
So it took so much time to say, oh, is he going to be in this program? Is he going to be in this program? Is he going to be in this program? That didn't finally get sorted until August. And because I mean, I can't sit there and be like, hey, you guys need to hurry up and do my paperwork, you
yeah,
know. So I mean, they're obviously trying their best, but there's a lot of stuff that comes with this. And they got to make sure whatever job I had, because I'm obviously not doing my job right away. I'm going to fulfill that commitment, you know, as soon as I decide to stop wrestling. But they had to make sure everything was, you know, green lights everywhere. And which, I mean, it makes sense. And I understood that. So I was fully prepared to do online classes until the paperwork got all the way pushed through. And then I'd obviously come back to Stillwater and start wrestling. But it worked out just in the nick of time. I was able to come here during the summer too, because I had my summer off. So
right.
yeah, it came down to the wire.
That's crazy. I didn't know all that was going on. Um, so you decided to transfer. You kind of went through a recruiting process as a graduate, I guess, and you looked at a few different schools. That was all prior to the coaching change, right?
Yes, correct.
So, what were your like main schools and you decided on Oklahoma State before the coaching change, or was it right after?
It was after.
Okay. Maybe explain the recruiting process and how that was probably a lot different from your original recruiting process, because you're probably a much more highly touted recruit at this point.
Yeah, coming out of high school, I wasn't the best wrestler, you know, but I had a good work ethic. And as soon as I realized I wanted to be in the military, so I mean, a fun fact before that is the only unofficial visit I took, really visit at all, was to Oklahoma State. It's the only place I ever took a visit to um, prior to committing to Air Force. And as soon as I figured out I kind of wanted to be in the Air Force, it was kind of, I just felt drawn to it. I mean, I think that was my calling. Um, and I mean, I'm never going to ever regret that decision. If I could go back and do it again, I'd choose the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
But for that extra year, when I was looking at schools, I knew like there's a bunch of different schools that have a lot to offer, but I kind of knew what my big three bullet points were. And I obviously, after wrestling for 4 years in college, I have a couple connections. I've met coaches. I've been able to talk to a couple of them. So I mean, obviously looked at Michigan. Um, KJ has been huge in my wrestling career, especially for U20s, U23s. You know, Kevin Jackson was someone who'd been a good mentor to me. Minnesota, Missouri was actually a visit I was going to take, but um, I kind of realized that I think some other schools had some other better stuff to offer, including Oklahoma State. And not that they had anything bad. It was just for the position I was in, location, leaving, like, because I still got to do some military fulfillment stuff while I'm here. And Stillwater's amazing for that as well. But that in Minnesota, let's see. So, yeah, we had Oklahoma State, Minnesota, Michigan, and Mizzou. Those were the main schools I was kind of looking at. I had a good foot in the door. I knew what they stood for. And there's a lot of great programs out there, but I mean, I didn't have, you know, a couple months to make this decision. I had, you know, a matter of weeks. So I kind of took the visit to the schools that I thought would set me up really well to become a national champion. And as soon as Coach Taylor became head coach, actually, good story about that. I remember when that was in the talks, I was like, that'd be crazy if that did happen. And then I think a couple hours later, I was in between classes and I get a call, and it's Coach Taylor. And this was before it had been announced. And so obviously getting that call, I kind of figured that he got the head coaching job. And he was like, hey, this is Coach Taylor. I want you to come be a Cowboy. So I was like, that's pretty sweet, because, I mean, Coach Taylor and Kyle Dake were my two, you know, biggest role models when I was growing up, going to Fargo. I'd always watch all their videos, their documentaries, and that was just a big source of my inspiration. So, I mean, I've talked to Coach Taylor many times at the Olympic Training Center, and I mean, he's just one of the guys. You know, he knows when to be a coach, he knows when to be a friend. I was like, I want to wrestle for this dude. So as soon as he became head coach, it really just made it hard for any other school to compete with what Oklahoma State had to offer.
Yeah. And that's funny. That was the next thing I was going to ask about is David Taylor. Like, and maybe you answered this question, but I guess how much did you watch him? It sounds like a lot. You said you watched his matches and his films and this. How influential was, because he's a guy foot on the gas, and I'm sure you're maybe learning some of the tactics about when to take your foot off or how hard to press on that gas. But how much did David influence you as a wrestler?
So when I was in 8th grade, I thought about quitting wrestling. I didn't like it. I was about ready to be done. And then I kind of started watching Coach Taylor, some more of his wrestling. And it was a game changer. It was a life changer, I would say. I think everyone has a time when, because my dad wrestled for a couple years in high school. He had a big influence on, that wrestling had a big influence on him. He wanted me to be a wrestler. I never did wrestling for myself until I watched Coach Taylor wrestle. After I watched him wrestle, I was like, well, it was actually his match versus Kyle Dake. Even though that was a crazy match, I remember watching that with my dad, and it was like the Olympics for me at that time. Watching those two guys wrestle and just watching them wrestle and just their interviews after, how they just carried themselves with wrestling, that kind of finally connected with me. And I started doing wrestling for me, not for my dad, not for my coaches, not for anything else. I started doing it for me. And so having someone like that, he's a pillar of my wrestling career. So having that history and then getting a call by him, I was just like, it was unreal for a little bit, because it's like you have you have your hero and then you end up meeting your hero or something. It's just, it was really good. It was really exciting having Coach Taylor call me, but he was definitely a pillar in my wrestling career.
Is he the one who, I guess, broke the news to you that he was the coach? Because it sounded like he called you before it was announced.
Yes. So after he called me, I was like, okay, he's me. I think it was announced like a couple hours later that day, like 6 hours later. That day it was finally announced. But I guess I might have been one of the first people to know, but it was exciting news for sure. Dude, I was like, this is pretty sweet.
It sent waves throughout the wrestling community. Like, I don't know the last time we had news that big, or that seemed that big, for sure. And timing is everything, right? If he beats Brooks, maybe none of this happens. So it's wild.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's wild that it happened. Had you ever wrestled with him prior to that, like out at the training center?
Yeah, a couple times at the training center. Really just for mental stuff. He kind of grabbed me a little bit and just said, "Hey, Wyatt, what's up?" And I was like, "Hey." And he's like, "What's your future look like wrestling?" How just kind of talking to me a little bit. And he's really the one that kind of complimented me on my wrestling style a little bit, because he knows that I'm always go, go, go. And he's like, if you want to be the best, you got to keep working at it and just don't light up. And I was like, thank you, David Taylor. But I think it's so funny now. Whenever someone says David Taylor, I'm like, it's Coach Taylor. Like, it's not. What do you call him David Taylor for? I know it's his name, but it's just cool having. He's Coach Taylor to me now, and all of us. So someone calls him David Taylor, I'm like, nah, it's Coach. You can address him as Coach now.
Coach Taylor.
Coach Taylor.
Did you give an answer on that first phone call? Were you like, I'm in? Or did you say, thanks for the call, let me think about it, and then hang up the phone and start jumping around?
Yeah, so there was I still had a couple of visits to take, and I still did want to see what these other schools had to offer. I told them I'd come visit their school, because usually the first visit you go to, you commit, but I said, hey, I want to take all these visits and go see these people, see everything they have to offer me. So I said, hey, thank you, Coach. I'm really excited, but I can't commit yet. I want to go ahead and, I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to commit to you. Just give me a couple weeks. My brain was like, hey, this is really convincing. But I told a couple other coaches I wanted to come take a look at their program. And so I did. But when I was at those other programs looking at it, I just automatically started comparing to Oklahoma State. And I was like, they had a lot to offer, a lot of great partners, great, absolutely outstanding coaches. But just because of what I've said, just the amount of influence that Coach Taylor's already had in my wrestling career, it's just, it's really just an unfortunate situation for those other schools. It's nothing against them. It's not that they're a bad program, or it's just whenever you have someone like that, call you and want to wrestle for you, it's kind of hard to pass up that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So when you finally did show up, you're there with you're new, but so is the coaches, right? So to the rest of the team, it's a whole new experience. And I don't know, did you feel that there was an adjustment period? I don't know if adjustment period is the right word, but did it feel like this new thing, not just for you, but for everybody?
Yeah, I definitely think there was. I think you're right. There's a little bit of an adjustment period. But what happened was Coach Taylor knows that, Oklahoma State wrestling, they have the stuff they've been doing for the past couple years, their training. So really, he just came and observed. And he didn't come in and try to change everything and be like, "Hey, what you guys are doing is wrong. I know the best right way to do everything." He kind of observed for a little bit, saw what our strengths were, saw what the weaknesses were. And for me, I mean, I've just had one thing for the past 4 years. So for me, I've just been doing what I've been doing. I didn't really change anything. But he'd come in and just wrestle with us, see what's going on, and just look for ways to improve what all the guys are already doing. Coach Caldwell, he was on the staff previously. He's still here. So, I mean, I think they really just, found a way to optimize everything we're doing. They kind of looked at some things we could improve on: nutrition, recovery, all obviously, because there's so much knowledge that just came into this program with Coach Gilman, Coach Kennedy, and obviously Coach David Taylor. He really just found a way to see what's best for everyone, what works, what doesn't work. And obviously, he has to have some of his he has his own ideas on a couple things, which are awesome. A couple new training ideas that I've never done before. But I'd say it was a pretty smooth transition because, I mean, just the way he did it. He's not a guy who's going to try to, he's not a control freak. He knows that people have different things that work for them. And so, I mean, even right now, if someone needs something a little different, he's more than happy to help us out and do anything it's going to take to ultimately get us on the top of that podium come March.
You said, can you maybe give examples? I think you said he's got a couple different ideas of training or ways of training, or you said a couple different something like that, ways of training that it seems like you really like or feel like are beneficial that maybe you haven't had your eyes open to before, haven't maybe thought of this approach.
Yeah, so there's a couple different areas. There's obviously wrestling, but also just training outside of wrestling, but changing it to wrestling. For example, we're not power lifters. If you want to be a better power lifter, you're going to do cleans, you're going to do your power cleans, all that good stuff. If you're a runner, you're going to do sprints, you're going to for long distance, you're going to do long distance. And we came in here, he's like, "What's our goal?" We're like, "To be national champions." How you be national champions? Being better wrestlers. How you going to get better at wrestling? Wrestling. Exactly. So everything we do is revolved on wrestling. If we're doing a lift, it's we're simulating picking someone up, throwing somebody, or a 2-on-1. All of our movements are all based on wrestling. Everything we do is wrestling. We don't really run, we wrestle. For cardio, we wrestle. For strength, we wrestle. So everything we do is just built around wrestling, which gives us a lot more time to develop all of our skills on the mat. You see a lot of high level wrestlers. David or Kyle Dake. He does a lot of the mobility training type stuff. We do some similar stuff to that, and everything we do is revolved around, a lot of stoic stuff, but this just simple human operations, just including wrestling and manhandling someone. So just doing that and transferring that to the mat, I just feel a lot stronger in certain positions. And obviously with Coach Taylor's wrestling style, there's a lot of little tricks I'm finding out. You can do, I think I have been limited to a couple shots because just mentally I didn't know how to adapt to different shots. But, having him do it on me, I'm like, holy smokes, that works. I outweigh him by 50, 60 pounds and he's still getting under me, So kind of feeling that, and I do it right back to him, just having that, because I can get live feedback every time I'm wrestling him. So ever soon as something happens, he can immediately give me that feedback and I can feel that position that day. So, I mean, that's been the biggest difference is we can just focus on a position and we can drill it for an hour until I get it right, get that muscle memory down.
That's pretty sweet. Obviously, David just wrestled at the World Championships. It's a probably pretty cool experience for you. I don't know. Were you one of his training partners at some times, at a lot of times, once in a while? And what's that like when you're helping, a world and Olympic champ get ready to go and try to get at his highest level? That's got to be a unique and beneficial experience.
Yeah, it was awesome seeing Coach train for that. You can really see it, real time of what it takes to be the best. And it really felt good that whenever he did decide to compete at that at Worlds
Yeah.
in the World Team Trials, his training didn't change. He kept doing everything he'd been showing us to do. So that kind of just he practices what he preaches, and it pays off. He's world's bronze medalist. That's all. That's amazing. I was his practice partner a couple times, gave him some good feels, and it was awesome. Just watching him still compete a little bit. Obviously, he's not going to be competing for the next forever, but I definitely think as his last little tournament, that was a lot of people. Maybe some people didn't like that. I didn't really see the reasons why, but for me, being in the room, it didn't take away from him coaching us at all. The only thing was different is every day he was wrestling with us versus some days mostly he's leading practice, but I mean he just grabbed one of us and start wrestling with us. So if anything, it made us even better that he was still training and competing because you could just feel the drive he had for wanting to be a champion. Whenever he's wrestling you and he's putting it on you, it's different than just a coach wrestling because you have like that passion and drive of competition still in you.
One other thing you alluded to is maybe tactics. Like, and you don't have to go over your strategy or your major changes, but like, are you thinking about the sport in a different way? Like you said, I don't have to have my foot on the gas the whole time. I can ease up a little bit or wait for him to make a mistake. Is there a different way of maybe thinking about or approaching the sport tactically?
Yeah, definitely. I think I first realized that because I outweigh coach by, like I said, 50, 60 pounds. And he had me huffing and puffing after 7 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what you just did to me, but like, I have a good gas tank.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a pushover. And so and then he was just like doing everything he wanted. He got me tired. I'm like, I don't know what you just did, but I want to learn that. And obviously, I'm not going to stop scoring points. My wrestling style is going to be similar, but there's a couple things. He's like, yeah, you see how tired you were, and you see how I'm still light on my feet. He's like, would that be nice? I'm like, yeah, can you show me how to do that? And so, I'm just learning different things. I'm obviously still going to be scoring points, but work smarter, not harder, and that's what I'm learning how to do.
Pretty awesome. What's like the lifestyle adjustments, right? Because you were on this podcast before, and I think you were like, there's 3 things that are really important at Air Forces: your academics, your military training, and your athletics, right?
Correct.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking 1/3 of that away now because you don't have the military training. So but you said I'm not a guy who can sit around and do nothing. So you're filling your time up with hunting, maybe it sounds like, or is there more? Are you practicing more, or I don't know? You taking walks around campus, or what are you doing to fill in that extra time?
Yeah, it's definitely that was the biggest lifestyle change is just having some more free time. I'm always wanting to do something, so I've been picking up some more hobbies, just really being able to live life a little bit after the academy. Um, Training wise, I've definitely had more time to go in and get a little bit extra recovery sometimes. And with that, the practice schedule's a little different. You got something in the morning or some early afternoon. Um, I can go stay in extra for an hour, go to the hot tubs, cold tubs, whatever recovery I really need. But um, in the summer, the biggest thing I would do is I love being outside. Is I actually developed a good habit. I'd go to the Humane Society every day and walk a bunch of dogs, and that was the best thing ever. Dogs are never upset; they're always just happy to be anywhere, and so I always go walk dogs. I start mentioning that I don't know why, but I mean I've probably racked up like 50 hours of community service just walking dogs to the Humane Society. But it's really just been nice. I bought an Xbox. I play some Xbox now with the boys. That's fun. I bought a guitar. I play guitar now.
Play
I started
guitar.
doing a bunch of stuff. Okay, I'm learning how to play the
What are you
guitar.
playing?
I can
Can you play something? A couple
um
things. You got your
a
guitar
couple
handy?
things, yeah. Huh?
You got your guitar handy?
Maybe.
Ah,
I do
come
have
on.
it right
Can you play
here.
one little ditty here?
Oh, I can see what I can do real
You
quick.
got
I
this.
gotta just
What's that Spartan
let me
helmet
plug it
behind you,
in.
by the way? What's that helmet on?
Huh?
What's that helmet?
Yeah. So this is a Spartan helmet.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sweet. You can
Yeah.
actually wear it. It is wearable. You know, I've definitely had a lot of good movies in my lifetime. This is not a specific helmet. Obviously, Gladiator 2 just came out. I've had this for a little bit, but
Sure.
I mean, growing up, my dad wanted to instill a warrior mindset. I don't know if it was great, but I mean, at 10 years old, we were watching Rambo, Gladiator, 300, like a bunch of movies. Probably shouldn't be watching that young, but I mean, I don't know. I got that inside warrior on me, so
All right.
it's just a little helmet I got right there.
All right. Didn't mean to distract you from grabbing the. Is it an acoustic?
It is, yep. It's a Paul Reed Smith. It's a beautiful guitar.
Paul Reed.
Electric guitar. Oh. Oh yeah, sorry. No, it's not an acoustic guitar. It's an
Electric guitar.
Sorry.
The opposite of acoustic.
Exactly.
Here we go. All right. I love little field trip
Okay.
during the show sometimes. I love it.
There it is. Just gotta plug it in real quick.
So you can play Stairway to Heaven?
Not yet. I'll tell you what. You like whenever you hear a song, you're like, oh, that's not bad, and then you try it, and it's just, holy smokes, is it? Oh, it's tough. It's tough.
It's like wrestling. You can't pick it up overnight.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Little distortion.
Can you hear it? That work?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not completely. Okay. Hold on. I gotta change it. It's out of tune. Hold on. I know
That's
it's taking
all right.
longer than we thought. I gotta change the settings real quick.
You take your time. You play guitar, I'll sing.
That works.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we got Wyatt Hendrickson about to shred the guitar for us. Live from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
That might work. I don't have time to tune everything, but I'm just gonna miss a couple strings and just play a little something.
We love it. That's all we want.
It's pretty simple stuff.
Here we go. Live from Stillwater.
Probably should have tuned it a little bit more. That shows you how much I've played it since I moved into this house.
That's all right. What was that? I couldn't maybe make it out. Or maybe I'm
There's a couple different things. A little bit of Smoke on the Water.
Okay.
A couple different 80s stuff just combined together.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Well, let's give it a hand, everybody. Woo!
Thank you.
Wyatt and the boys.
Confidence. I've been learning a few other, but they're just, oh my gosh, my fingers are not meant for guitars. They're meant for manhandling people and pinning them, to be honest with you. So
That's fair. All right. Well, we'll check back in postseason. Maybe see if you can be like playing something wild.
I'm trying. I honestly, it's easy to get discouraged. People that have learned guitar or tried to get to learn guitar, the first couple days, best thing ever. So fulfilling. Trying to move up to that next level is just completely demoralizing. So it'll make you want to pick a different hobby, like going hunting or buying an Xbox or something.
All right. Well, I got a feeling you're going to be good at it. It seems like you get pretty good at most things that you pick up.
I'm trying.
Okay. Man, was there one other thing I wanted to ask about wrestling wise? This wasn't it, but Thomas Gilman I love Thomas Gilman.
I love Thomas Gilman. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
A lot of times and a lot of places, the little guy coach kind of coaches the little guys, etc. Right? You wrestle with David, maybe you work more with him. What's your relationship like with Thomas? Maybe well in general, but more specifically as far as wrestling, right? I don't suspect you guys wrestle together, but does he pick your brain? Do you pick his brain? And yeah, how's he as a coach? And does he coach you much, or is it more he deals with the little guys and David deals with the big guys and Jimmy's in the middle or whatever?
It's funny you actually say that. On that very first call with Coach Taylor, I just start talking. He was talking to me like, "Yeah, how'd you like it from your coach?" And I said, "Actually," I was like, "I just kind of like being coached by little guys."
Really?
And he was like, "Am I not little enough for you?" And I realized what I just said, and I'm like, "Sorry, no, I'm sorry." I was like, "No, you're a big guy, but I like it if you teach me too." And it was kind of funny because I was sitting there like, "What am I saying?" But I've actually Coach Joe Johnston at Air Force was um, one of the main people that I kind of talked with a little bit, along with Scotty Boykin. That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Great moves. But just the little guys sometimes can just feeling it, and their feels are it's different than the big guy.
Sure.
So kind of I like learning stuff from little guys too. I mean, I've wrestled with Coach Kennedy. We've rolled around a little bit. I mean, it's awesome. So Coach Gilman, he's actually my pre warm up ritual kind of like he'll sit with me, he'll kind of rub me out and give me a little talk. He is a very mentally tough old school dude. I mean, if you've ever seen his documentaries and stuff, he went to Russia, and just hearing him talk about that stuff, he likes embracing, history, your past, your ancestors. And so for me, he brought some cool stuff up to me. He's like, "Yeah, you're kind of part Viking." And I'm like, "Well, I know a little bit." And he like knows everything. He's like, "No, there's this. And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yes. When you go out there, you do it for them, all right?" And so he's I mean, it's intense, but I mean, his intentions are pure, and it's just been kind of exciting to have him hype me up a little bit. I'm like, "You know what? Like, you're right, coach. I'm going to rip this guy's head off," So he's my pump up guy. But I mean, all the coaches, we're really close. After practice, we're all hanging out, talking with each other. And I mean, it's just, we're one big family.
It's easy to look at the success Penn State's had and think, well, David was there for basically all of it. And there's like this word they always throw around over there, which is like fun. It's just fun. It's just fun. Like, do you feel like wrestling's fun? And I feel like if people are having fun around wrestling, they're going to enjoy it more and want to be around it more. But wrestling's not always fun. And a lot of times over the years, right, it's like people dread going to practice and is it fun? Do you enjoy it? Does it seem like the team's enjoying it, literally having fun?
I do. I do think it is fun. With that, I also think that it's important to realize how much of a mental role it plays in this. If coach shows up to practice and he's like, "Hey, we're going to drill really hard for 10 minutes. Then we're going to drill really hard in this for another 10 minutes. And we're going to drill really hard in this. I'm going to make you guys do this. I'm going to make you do that." That's not what's coming out of their mouth. They're not saying, "Oh, we're going to make you do this. They're making you do that." They're like, "Hey, look, guys, we get to get better today. We get to do this. We get to do that. You might be able to have some on your own. We might give you some structure for it." But the way they present everything, none of it is negative. And that's what they preach to us a little bit is they're like, "Hey, when you guys come into practice, we want you guys to have fun. We play handball. We get really competitive in handball, actually. We get really, really competitive. But the coaches are always playing too.
Yeah.
But whenever we're doing something that's just like, it's how they perceive what we're doing. If you're keeping your goals in mind, like, "Hey, why are we doing this today? Why are we beating ourselves up and gassing ourselves out?" It's like, "Oh, so we can win a national championship." The goals are always in the forefront of our minds when we're doing this, and they remind us of that. So I think it's definitely a little bit on them to, give us the right training, but it's also on us a little bit to, want to be there, want to get better. And they really just bring that positive mindset and that positive attitude about, "Hey, we're here because we get to get better today. That's why we're here." So having them always kind of ahead of everyone, just kind of leading and showing us that, hey, this is, I mean, wrestling is fun. Like, look what we get to do today. Stuff like that. That makes a big difference. And that's something they always remind us of that.
Yeah, that's great. It's perspective, right? Like,
Yes, exactly.
we have to go to practice today, or hey, we get to get better, right? Either way, you're spending 2 hours in the room with the mats. Just how are you looking at it? Which I think is great. Okay, you guys you started kicking off matches. What's it like wrestling Gallagher-Iba? I'm sure the fans were supercharged because it's the start of a new thing with David and company. And you did I didn't know you could do a backflip. I guess I should have assumed. It was awesome. But explain what it feels like wrestling in front of a crowd like that. They're crazy for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Stillwater's it's a wrestling town for sure. It was everything that I kind of thought it would be. It did live up to the hype. Going out there and having a big crowd. Most of the time, I'm really focused on wrestling, and I mean, no matter what, I mean, I have a really good. I kind of like pressure. I also, when I'm wrestling, all I see is inside the circle. That's all I pay attention to. Like, I have really good like tunnel vision. I like until after the match, I don't actually look up and realize anything. I'm focused. I'm dialed in. And so I think whenever I had when I was wrestling Wyoming and turned to his back, everyone was going crazy, and I could for the first time I could hear the arena. I was like, oh my goodness, like these guys are excited watching me pin this guy. And then I pinned him, and I was like, this is pretty sweet. I was hyped up. I mean, if you've ever watched me wrestle, I'm not a big celebratory person. Usually, if I walk off the mat, you can't tell if I won or I lost because I'm just like, it's wrestling. It's awesome. It's fun, but it's just wrestling. So I think I'm kind of exploring a little bit of having some more. Like we said, we're having fun with it. That was a lot of fun. Pinning him and then doing a little backflip stuff. I actually used to be a tumbler when I was little. I say little, like 14, 15. So I just never stopped doing my tricks. So you might see some more here soon. We'll see.
All right. Man, you said you like pressure. Right, it would be maybe wild to go through this without bringing up Gable Steveson, right? We all know what he's done. He's come back. Does that do anything? Does it make you more excited, more motivated, more or less anything? Or is it just like, man, he's just a guy back in the weight class?
Yeah, I mean, I heard he was coming back, and I was like, I mean, why wouldn't you? He's a great wrestler. He loves competing. I love competing. If anything, that makes me a little bit more excited. I think there wasn't really a reaction to it. I mean, I was like, sweet, but I mean, that's not going to change anything I do. It's not going to change my training. It's not going to change, my goals of being a national champion this year. So, I mean, bring it on. I mean, competition, bringing on some pressure. I love it. I've wrestled him a couple times. Wrestled in NCAA, I think my freshman year. I mean, I've came a long way. Even when I've wrestled him, at other tournaments, it's, maybe some freestyle, but I don't know. Coach Taylor's teaching me some pretty sweet stuff, and I think it doesn't matter who I'm going toe to toe with. This stuff I'm learning is gonna apply, and you're gonna be able to see it.
Talking to you in the past, it sounds like there were moments throughout your career where you made big jumps. I feel like in high school at one point you made a big jump. In college you made a big jump. How does this jump? Training at Oklahoma State, training with David, and physically with him. How does this jump compare to other jumps you've made?
I think it's just another big stepping stone. I mean, I think even at the Air Force Academy, I made some big jumps. And I mean, with time, I'm going to get more mastery of the sport. I'm going to learn more. I've had a large sum of resources, coaching, a bunch of different knowledge poured into me. I definitely think, I'm still, I mean, I've came so far in the past couple months, and still got so far to go. I mean, I don't even think I'd love to peak at NCAA's, but I think it's gonna, even out. I'm just gonna keep going up. I think as I'm getting more of a full perspective of the sport of wrestling and the whole strategy part. I've always known about it, but I've always just believed, the only one time I had to test that was the NCAA tournament, and so now it's like I get some of that earlier on, and Connor Doucette is a tough, strong opponent, and I get to train with him, every single day. So, I mean, the bullet points I'm putting down and progressing from them is, it's like at an exponential rate. So, I mean, I've definitely done a lot of climbing. I'm going to keep getting better until March. So, I mean, I think it's just the only way I can really say that is, I mean, this weekend we're wrestling at, Las Vegas. There's gonna be a lot of great opponents there. I mean, I think you'll after you see some data points, that'll kind of show you how big of a jump I've made. A lot of these matches, you know, even against these best wrestlers, they're not going to be 1, 2, 3 point matches. So I think that's where you'll really be able to see the jumps I've been able to make.
These new techniques or tricks or tactics or game plans, all maybe the new things you're learning, like, or not even just, how much are you thinking about wrestling outside of wrestling and outside of practice? Is it a lot? Is it a little? Is it all the time? Is it never? Is it sporadically? Is it purposeful? Like, I'm going to take 20 minutes and think about whatever it is.
I definitely think it's more purposeful. I'd say that's a good way to describe it. Whenever, while I'm in practice, I'm not thinking about really anything else. I can 100% focus in on what I'm doing, and I'm not worried about what I'm doing the rest of that day, what I'm doing the next day. I'm in the moment. I'm like, hey, what am I doing right now? And in the past, I haven't really done that as much. And so, they say, there's some people that have wrestled their whole lives and they never wrestled in college. There's people that started their sophomore year of high school and wrestled D1. Just because you have more time doesn't always make it better. It has to be intentful and purposeful work that you're putting in. I've had a lot more intentful, purposeful hours put in over the past couple months that I just haven't done in the past.
Okay. Is that in practice or outside of practice?
It's a little bit of both. So I'd say when I go to practice, so for me, for example, practice yesterday was from 12:30 to 4, but I was only actually on the mat from 2 to 3:30. So I usually show up early. I mean, everyone does. We get some recovery in, watch a little bit of film, or just kind of go talk about positions with a coach. I mean, a lot of us show up. We have practice times at 2, whatever, but everyone's in the room at 1:30. Just we're ready to go. We're talking to the coaches. They're all in there. We're learning about something. So, I mean, it's just more of a talk. It's more of like a way of life. I'd say in the past, there's always something I was doing that wasn't wrestling, and I'd walk into the wrestling room, and that's when wrestling practice would begin. Well, now wrestling practice can begin, an hour and a half before I start putting my shoes on. It's more just like it's part of daily life versus, hey, instead of wrestling for 2 hours today, it's like, oh, this is going to be part of my day almost every single day. Even, on the weekends, there's some point I'm texting someone about a technique or something. I just say it's a lot more normal now, if that kind of makes sense, than it has been in the past.
Yeah. Sounds amazing, to be honest.
It's awesome. I love it.
That's great.
Wrestling's a fun sport.
Yeah. So I guess what's your future, right? And if I remember correctly, the deal with the Air Force is, you come to Air Force and then you give 5 years, right? You have a job and you're obligated to go work for the Air Force in some capacity for 5 years. But I also heard you say at the start of this, you want to train through 2028, right? Or your aim is for LA 2028. So what does your future look like with wrestling and with the military? And are they mixed, or is it like one and then the other one's right after it?
Absolutely. So it is mixed. I'm in WCAP. It's the World Class Athlete Program. And my 5-year commitment is for the job I signed up for. So I'm an acquisitions officer. Man, I sound like a complete nerd right now, but that's the technical terms for everything. I'm an acquisitions officer. And so my commitment is 5 years as that job contributing to the Air Force. I am active duty right now, but it doesn't count as that 5-year commitment because I'm in a special program. For example, there's other people that are going to grad school for 2 years. That doesn't really count as your commitment yet because we haven't actually started doing that actual job. But we're still active duty. I'm still active duty. I'm a commissioned officer. So I'm in WCAP for the next 4 years, and I'm wrestling in college this year. But after this, I'm just going to stay at a training center, and I'll be able to train whether it's in Colorado Springs or it's here in Stillwater for the next 3 years after this year. I'll still be finishing up my grad school, but I won't be competing in college. I'll just be competing for the world teams every single year. But that 5-year commitment does not start until after I'm done with the WCAP program.
So at minimum or at earliest, at this point, the earliest would be 2028, and then you'd have 5 years or however many you want after that.
So I could drop out of the WCAP program whenever I'd like. I don't want to do that because I got big goals. But it's like a one. Really, it's like a 1-for-1 year. So I'll be in for if I do all 4 years of WCAP, then I'll have 5 years of as an acquisitions officer. So I'll have 9 years left. Versus if I didn't do any WCAP, my 5 year commitment would start right now. But
Okay.
so I for sure have 4 years of wrestling. Granted, if I'd like it, and I'm gonna, this isn't time. I'm not having this time to waste it. I'm obviously using this to pursue my goals of being a national champion, a world champion, and Olympic champion.
Pretty exciting. Okay, so that's the future. As far as like, I want to hear like your craziest training story, and I don't know how like and you can define crazy however you want, right? But I'm sure at the military they had some pretty intense training, whether it's mental or physical, or I'm guessing the most strenuous had elements of both, and it could be wrestling too. I don't know, just come
So I
to
just need a training story.
yeah, like the most extreme training stories, or I remember you telling stories before about they or maybe I was watching an Instagram video of yours where the two guys quit. We can all go home, but nobody's gonna quit, and they're gonna push everybody really hard. That's what made me think of this question. But
Yes. So that was they cut out some of that video. What that wasn't one of my trainings. That was for Navy SEALs.
okay,
There is an admiral. I forgot his last name, but he gave a ceremony speech for something. It was about teamwork, and I was talking to the team about hey, we need to get not we don't need to get tougher, but I mean hey, this is some good stuff to watch that'll help you get tougher. They're already ridiculously tough. All the guys are on the team, but obviously if I can pour in resources to them that I know have worked in my past experience, I'm going to tell them. So I was telling them about a story of the Navy SEAL training, and I mean, it was just about becoming mentally strong as a team because you need every single person. And so that was just a video that I asked the guys to watch, and I gave them a little bit of information about that because we're going to war together. When we go to NCAAs, we're stepping. I mean, yes, the 10 guys competing are going to be representing the whole team, but I mean, it's going to take everyone. When we're training, we need every single person in that room wanting us to be national champions. Even if it's not you, it takes a lot of dedication to come in here and, you know, try to whoop up on the starting guy, even though he might be a little better, a little stronger than you, or whatever edge he has. I mean, it takes everyone. And so that's where that story came from. That wasn't my personal story, but pretty similar. I'd say my hardest training was in the Air Force, there is something called STOs and CROs, combat rescue officers and special tactics officers, which is the equivalent to a Navy SEAL. Not exactly equivalent, but it's our special ops stuff. And there's water training for that. A lot of people are not the best swimmers. I'm an okay swimmer, but swimming with clothes on and full uniform, doing some of that training, I mean, you're underwater, you can't breathe, you start freaking out. I'm not someone who can stay very calm. I'd say one of my best friends, Calvin Sund, our 97 pounder at the Air Force Academy, insanely tough dude. Along with Jack Ganos, they're both going to be STOs and CROs, and I did some of their trainings with them outside of wrestling because I mean we're wrestling, we're NCAA athletes, but these guys are still going and doing 2 hours of insane training after practice for their career fields. And I said, I want to try some of this stuff. And so there's a couple different drills you do, where you tie up your hands, tie up your legs, and it's called bobbing. And you got to go down and you go all the way up. And you're tied. You need to learn how to survive and travel tied up behind your back and your feet tied together. And
underwater.
some of the stuff's in underwater, yeah. You have to sink to the bottom and push up, get a gulp of air, and then go back down. And you have to do like forward rolls, backward rolls. You have to like dive down and grab goggles with your mouth and hold something in your mouth while bobbing. And it's some insane stuff. And I was not as calm and collective in the water while swimming. And so I refused to tie my hands behind my back. I just tucked them in my waistband. But doing some of the training with those guys, that tested me a little bit. My heart, that's the highest my heart rate has ever been in my life, was doing that. I think it was upwards of like 200. Oh my gosh, is that stuff some hard stuff? And swimming underwaters 25 meters and then swimming back on a timed interval like 10, 15, 20 times. It is, you gotta, but like the mindset's so important for that. That's why I think the mindset bring that into wrestling, because Calvin Sund, he refuses. His mindset is a solid brick wall. He refuses to. So it's called popping. If you're swimming underwater and you can't hold your breath, you pop up. He chooses to black out instead of pop. Like, he will not give up. And so I wasn't that tough my first couple of times trying that. And so it was that was probably the toughest training I've ever done. Because here's the thing, that was probably the toughest thing, but not because it was the most physically demanding thing. It's because it was so mental, and I just couldn't. Even though I probably wasn't going to pass out, my body's like, hey man, I want some air, so get out of the water, bring your head above water. But that's definitely the most probably the toughest thing I'd say I've ever done as far as training.
Yeah, it sounds like that water. The water is like a whole different
It's a different
arena. Yeah, like okay, working hard is one thing. Not being able to breathe, I'd be popping. I'd be popping out of the water. Give me a breath. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's one thing. It's like Cal's like, hey, if I never pop, I'm never gonna make a habit of it. So he just does it. He just mentally decided to be tough.
No thanks. Enough for the water training for me. Okay, I want to switch gears. I got a couple quick questions. One, I just want to know, like, do you have an all-time favorite wrestler to watch? Somebody who you've, always liked watching wrestle.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when I first started wrestling. I mean, I know that I watched John Smith a lot. My dad loved the John Smith low single.
Yep.
He religiously tried to show me those videos when I was a kid. And so I think just because my dad wanted me to like have that exact same John Smith, it's never the low single, it's the John Smith low single.
Yep.
That's how he always said it. Whenever I was in a match, he'd give me the signal. He'd say John Smith, and boom, I'd hit that ankle pick. So I think just because of you wanted me to learn that ankle pick, I just remember every wrestling video I ever watched. It's probably just John Smith when I was growing up. But then I think when I started liking wrestling, it was pretty neck and neck with Kyle Dake and David Taylor. Watching those guys wrestle was awesome. I loved it. There was never a dull moment of, sitting there and in a tie-up. They're always trying to attack or do something, which obviously resonates with me. That's kind of what I base my wrestling style off a little bit. But, I mean, that was still – I forgot when they graduated college. But,
13, 14.
I mean, there's just so many good people to choose from. I mean, all the big brand names, the Jordan. I remember I also watched a lot of Jordan Burroughs. Obviously, I have a nice double leg. Not as good as Jordan Burroughs yet, but I watched a lot of his doubles, just his highlight. I remember like 20-minute highlight videos just watching of John Smith low singles and Jordan Burroughs double legs. It kind of, it just changed. But okay, let me answer your question. All-time favorite. I'm trying to give you an unbiased opinion because, I'm at Oklahoma State, John Smith, David Taylor. All-time favorite. Nothing beats the Jordan Burroughs blast double. I think that's got to be my favorite. Even though I wasn't good at it, I always tried it. And I still do it today. You see me do my double leg. It's mostly because of that was just so awesome. He just trucked through people. I'd say Jordan Burroughs is probably my favorite wrestler to watch of all time.
That's fair. You mentioned John Smith, in the low single, the John Smith low single, and the video your dad was showing. Like, do you ever see him? Does he ever pop up to practice? Or I've seen him at a couple Cowboy wrestling events, but do you ever get to see him or a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, I usually see him at a football game or something. I actually saw him. I saw him at the last football game, and I walked in the room and I saw him, and he was like, "What the hell? You can do a backflip!" And he just comes over. He's just excited. Loves watching wrestling, and he's just got coaching in his blood.
Sure.
We're in the middle of like at an event, a football game, and surrounded a bunch of people, and he's just like, But when you're in that front, like, come here, let me show you this real quick. When you get in this position next time in that front headlock, and he's just showing me moves. He takes his hat off and says, "Hold this," just starts wrestling with me, just showing me stuff. So, I mean, I see him pretty consistently around here. He's always involved with Oklahoma State in some way or another.
Yeah, legend, no doubt, John Smith.
Yes.
Last thing is joke time. I was wondering if you got any jokes in your back pocket you can share with us.
So there's a lot of jokes in the world, a lot of people that, make jokes. And I remember my very first joke I ever came up with. I was actually in the 4th grade in the cafeteria. And I still think, to me, this is like a historic moment because it was like a joke. It made sense and it's authentic. I came up with it. But like I said, I was in the 4th grade, so don't keep your standards too high. But here's the joke. Why did the French fry cross the road? He needed to catch up. I was sitting there. I had a French fry and I had ketchup, and I was like, idea, light bulb. So to me, it's like I came up with that myself. So there's the joke of the day. Authentic Wyatt Hendrickson. I'm a heavyweight. I like food. My jokes are about food. Everything's about food and heavyweight stuff. Man,
we got jokes. We got guitars. We got wrestling talk. I feel like we were talking about. We got hunting. This show's kind of got it all today. Wyatt.
Yeah,
what else do you got in your bag of tricks?
I actually used to be a magician.
Come on, you can't. Now you got a shirt. You got a car. You got to do a little trick for us.
I do. All right, give me 5 seconds.
Yeah, take your time. Oh, folks, we're on a good one today. Wyatt Hendrickson, thoroughly entertaining us. Oh, played some 80s rock. Told us a joke he made up. Okay. Just when we thought it was over, but there's more.
Over. All right, this is a brand new deck. Not even. Let's take out the Joker at first. This is a full deck. It's a normal deck of cards. There's nothing crazy about it. They're not double-sided.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. Shout out to graduation of the Air Force Academy. We got our. This is our crest.
Nice. Love it.
So let's give these just a quick shuffle real quick. I should be able to do this with you. I'm not going to cheat. I think I can find a way to. I'm going to like ring through them. I'll have you tell me when to stop. And I'm going to take off the top cards and just whatever card we land on.
Okay.
That'll be your card. So let me give it.
Take your time.
Let me give it one more shuffle. Now the camera's right here and I can kind of see it, which is going to make it. I'm going to have to look away.
Just do your best. Yeah. I feel like
my best is what we got.
You're an honorable guy. We'll trust you.
Okay. They're decently shuffled. Oh, we have one more Joker. Take that out. See, they're shuffled cards.
They're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all. This isn't. So there's like a couple trick decks you can do. So that's not that. Okay.
We don't want trick decks.
I'm gonna go ahead and ring through them, and as soon as you tell me to stop, I'm just gonna whatever card it is. I'll try to show it to the camera. Right. Okay, ready? Go ahead and tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Right there? Okay. This is your...
I can't see it.
You see it?
Oh, okay, I got it.
You see it?
Yep.
All right. It's still your card right there. I'll put it in there. Shuffle it up. Just that first so I can get it out of the way.
What's he doing here?
It sucks as you can't see what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm trying to shuffle it up and I don't want to
make it look like you're cheating. I don't think you're cheating.
Shuffle one more time, get it.
Yeah.
Get in there. Okay, so this is the trick. I learned a lot of facial expression. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. So for the camera, I need to be able to see your face when I'm doing this.
Okay, you need to do two box like this?
What I've learned to do is, I can see your reaction when you see your card. So your body, you make a signal. You have a sense of something whenever you see a card. And I have a really good ability to kind of I can tell when people see their card. So don't cover your face. I'm just going to show you the cards
All
right
I'm gonna
here.
try.
I
I'm
just
gonna
need
try
see-
to not make. I'm gonna try to do my best to not make a face.
Oh, of course. That's what. Yeah. I mean, it's the main goal of it. So. Oh. See, you're making something with your face. I don't know, maybe. You see him? You're doing a little something with your face, huh? I see it. Huh? Oh! Did you see your card in there?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
I think I figured out what. Thinking what your card is. Okay. So now I need to find it in here. I'll do it one more time. Yep. Yep, I got it. All right. So, I'm actually going to have you help me find your card.
Okay.
So, I'm going to do the same thing I just did earlier. I'm going to ring through it, and whenever you say stop, wherever you want, that's probably, you're probably going to pick your own card again. That's what I'm going to say. So, we're going to do the same thing. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Right there? What was your card?
Do I got to tell you? You're going to show me. Or you took
What
one
was
out.
your card?
It was a king.
It was a king?
It was king. King of spades.
King of what?
I believe it was the king of spades.
Was that one?
Yeah. What was that one?
It doesn't do justice because you're not here in person. Usually it'd be a lot cooler, but
Yeah. But you got my card.
that's the best we can do over the camera. I didn't say I was a professional magician. I just said I'm a magician.
Not a professional magician, not a professional guitar player, but fine at both of them.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing I could actually kind of wrestle. Because or else I'd be broke.
I would say stick with wrestling because I figure if you wanted to do either of the other two, you would end up being good at them.
Yeah.
I could see you in
see.
lead guitar on stage, grow out long hair, and be you.
I might hear eventually. We'll see. That's the one thing is I was excited because I'm not in uniform every day.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, I can grow out some facial hair. I can grow out my hair a little bit. And then my commander was just going over a few things with me like, hey, just want to let you know, even though you're not in uniform, just make sure you're maintaining the standards because I had a pretty sweet goatee for a while. Then I had to go ahead and shave it. I can have a mustache and that's it. So no more facial hair for 9 years, but oh well.
All right. Well,
Besides
on that note, I think that might be a good place to wrap it up. That explains the mustache too. I appreciate that. But Wyatt, man, this has been great. I do appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast talking with you, and you definitely made it a lively show, man. I'm excited to see you this year and the rest of your career for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much for letting me show you my amateur guitar and even more amateur guitar tricks. Or sorry, card tricks.
Yeah, we could
maybe I'm actually gonna keep these with me, and if I ever see you at a tournament or something, I'll do it in person. It'll be a lot cooler. I promise.
I'm
so
game.
I'm gonna keep these. I'm gonna put these in my wrestling bag after this. I'm gonna take them with me for the rest of the year.
Heck yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I'll as soon as I see it, it's the first thing I want to say.
I'll have mommy.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for calling in today and joining us. I appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your day. Do something fun.
Hey, thanks, man. You too. Appreciate it. See you later. All right, folks. That's gonna do it. Fun show, lively show, and appreciate Wyatt for joining us today. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.